What's up, LinkedIn community? This is Adam Conrad, founder and CXO, Chief Experience Officer for Great Recruiters. And I'm here with my friend Arran Stewart, founder and CVO of Job.com, and that is Chief Visionary Officer. Arran, how are you doing today?
I'm brilliant. And also I'm feeling more at home and comforted that I've got another founder and owner on, with me that hasn't gone down the route of the executive titleship or anything. We're more focused on vision, experience, and sort of new age thought process when it comes to business. So I feel right at home.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's awesome. Hey, give you a little background on Arran. As I mentioned, Job.com is blockchain-powered recruitment platform. He's spent a decade working to disrupt the industry with innovative, first-of-its-kind technology. I love the first time we met. Like everything that we talked about is like where the future is going. So I'm really excited to talk to you about this. But he's an expert in hiring, recruitment, technology, macro job market trends. He's been featured in Forbes, Reuters, Wired, Fortune, NASDAQ, among others. So here's a guy that's building a great organization, and just really excited for us to talk today. And we're going to talk about something that is often spoken about, but very little done about it. And if there was a better way for people to do this, we wouldn't have the reputation this industry has for recruiters. But we're going to talk about the candidate experience, and then going to spend some time talking to Arran a little bit more about the future. We mentioned blockchain, where the industry's going, what the modern firm is going to look like. But hey, before we get kicked into some of the nitty gritty, I always love to ask, how did you get into this industry? Because nobody grows up as a child thinking, no. I want to be a recruiter.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's probably the same opening gambit that everybody says, I fell into it.
I always say I fell into it and I fell in love, man.
Yeah, I fell it. Absolutely, 100%. So it was in the 2000s. It was after I finished my master's. I went and worked in London for a publicly traded company called S3, staffing recruitment company. And they actually owned the IT job board. They were sharing in the IT job board. I went and worked at the IT job board. It's why I kind of cut my teeth, I guess, into the whole digital hiring side of things. And, that was 16 years ago. So, and now here we are.
Look, my hair looked a lot more like the color of my shirt than it does now.
Adam, least you have it. Okay. This is follically challenged.
Okay, you make it look good, though. You make it look good, man.
I love you, man. I'm coming on here all the time now. Thank you.
That's good. So, hey, talk to me about Job.com. Give me the origin. Where is this coming from? Like, where's your business strategy at?
Sure. Yeah. So it's been an evolution. The business originally started in the UK at the end of 2011. So we've been doing this for 11 years now. We weren't always Job.com. We were originally called My Job Matcher. The original business started off utilizing AI matching and job scraping and aggregation to basically create a daily watchdog for a job seeker. Because at the time in the UK, the average job seeker would spend 7 hours a week looking for work online and would register with 21 separate employment sites. And at this point, I was like, God, it's a job looking for a job. So we developed this platform and technology, and it was really successful. It was great. We worked with loads of partners to kind of monetize their data, activate their data. But, as time went on, I guess that business model tired away somewhat, and we had changes with GDPR in the UK, which made it a lot more difficult to activate data. Mailbox providers changed a lot of their processes when it came to making emails land, and it just was no longer what I would have called a truly sustainable business in the future. And you had ZipRecruiters and Indeed just dominating everywhere. So when we landed here in the US in 2017, we'd been continuously growing My Job Matcher. Job.com was for sale as a business. It was a very long-standing, at one point, one of the largest job boards in the United States. And we acquired the company. We acquired the business, acquired arguably one of the best URLs ever in our space. And everyone always asks,
Great Recruiters is pretty good.
Yeah, Great Recruiters is definitely the best. But then Job's definitely up there. It's definitely in the top 5, I'd say. And it was at this point we became sort of reflective and looking internally like, where can we make impact? Where can we make impact? What markets need impacting? And when you look at the job board market, you've just got Indeed that is just killing it. LinkedIn kind of sits in its own silo. And then somewhere, you've got ZipRecruiter kind of picking up as much of the market left that it possibly can. And then, there is Monster, there is Career Builder, but they're probably not worth necessarily talking about that much these days. We were like, we just don't really have a chance to compete in that. There's just that market is sewn up. But when you started looking at recruitment and staffing and how fragmented that industry is, over 20,000 people operating in it this year now, according to SIA, $212.7 billion industry, absolute gargantuan, right? It was like, when you look at the processes that traditional small recruitment agencies go through, quite clunky, quite not necessarily tech driven, etc. We're like, could we create a digital staffing platform somewhere that provides a streamlined process that a recruiter can manage a candidate from end to end and place them into a company, and it's tech with touch, right? And thus was born, job.com. Rather than me jumping and going straight into it, we can talk about what we do with blockchain, we can talk about all the patents we filed, we can talk about all the stuff we do with AI, but the reality is we want to remove friction from hiring. We want to take all the low-value tasks from a recruiter, because you mentioned something at the beginning, that technology is taking recruiters' jobs. I would say that we are trying to take parts of their jobs away that are just redundant. The bit you want the recruiter to do is this. They do the human bit. They do the bit where they talk to the candidate and they're talking to great candidates all day. Let the tech do all the other, low value, quite laborious and typically long-winded tasks. And that's just where we're at the moment. And we've grown very, very well. People may have seen in the market, we've bought a number of staffing agencies as our route to market. So we've acquired 5 so far. I'm delighted to say, which is great. I'm delighted to say that we just closed a round of funding, quite a decent one. And now on Friday. So
congrats to that too.
Yes, it'll be in the press. So I don't want to ruin the press release. So I'll just get this as a taster. But we closed on Friday, and now we're going to go buy a whole bunch of other staffing companies as well, just to continue our market growth, and that's where we're at. So that's what we're doing, Adam.
So what I love is like the technology and the touch, right? Because I think one of the things that you and I both resonated with when we talked is like the human being is going to exist in this industry for a long time. There are other things. There are quick and gigs and all that. Like I could get my Uber, but we talked about like the realtor. The realtor's value used to be MLS listings, right? And realtor.com and Zillows and all that. And that doesn't become the value for them now. And so I can research and get all the information from my perspective. But the realtor's role has changed to be more of an advisor. It's a big deal to buy a home. And I see that's the recruiter role really changing for the higher touch and building a community and being able to connect with somebody that you can trust, not just transactionally put a butt in a seat. And that's where I see technology taking stuff off the recruiter's plate, but should be enhancing the experience for the job seekers as well.
I couldn't agree more. Like legitimately. And recruiters they're consultative. And again, if they build a great reputation and they're trusted by the candidate and can be seen visibly to be trusted, they can become almost that career concierge that is guiding you through your career and timeline. Because, I don't know if everybody knows this, but staffing agencies place 16 million people into work in the United States every year. That is a huge populace. But what you don't realize is that's the 16 million that got the job. How many of those recruiters touched of the other people that didn't? So they are touching a huge portion of the labor force every year. And they can do it in a really great consultative way, but it's all about having trust with that human, knowing that you're dealing with the right recruiter, that they treat you right. And, again, no sort of plug for your business, but for the first time ever, there's now a way of demonstrating the difference between this recruiter and this recruiter, because something like Great Recruiters absolutely does that. Right. So, and it's a game changer for the internet, hence why we're obviously a customer of yours.
Well, and you're a customer because I think it was built for people that were thinking that way, right? Yeah. We're not built for the people that just want to transact. We're built for that relationship business. And there's something interesting. I want to ask you, what percentage, because you've been involved in the job boards, what percentage of talent do you think actually exists in the job boards?
So as in people that are actually sitting in there looking, I mean, I think a lot of so I don't have an exact percentage number off the top of my head because, there's statistical numbers thrown around everywhere, which will actually bring me to my blockchain piece. So rather than jumping ahead, there's probably, Indeed is probably sat on 100 million candidates, something like that, right? Which would arguably say that they've got 2/3 of the labor market maybe sat within their database. But, but then the thing is that that's still 1/3 of people that aren't,
Right.
and LinkedIn is in its own separate medium, because you've got this whole, they've got all of maybe the executive professionals that are on there, but how active are those humans? And, LinkedIn is also difficult because it's so polluted now with spammy messages that I think that people don't necessarily listen to all the stuff that gets sent to them now. I mean, I literally blank off now. I'm just done, right? I can't deal with it anymore. It's just too much. So yeah, there's still this kind of, recruitment agencies, staffing agencies are managing and harboring relationships and credibility and also market knowledge, that if I'm a particular candidate in the market, do I just want to blindly upload my resume onto Indeed or ZipRecruiter or wait for that headhunter to find me on LinkedIn? Or do I want to work specifically with a recruiter that I know and trust?
Well, and that's where I think we're aligned and kind of asking, because, even that candidate, right, that's on the job board, they're being bombarded by all of these different, and the reality is there hasn't been a better way for them to go find a job. For me, it's like connect with 3 or 4 recruiters that are, trusted, right? Have good reviews that you can follow along in your career, right? Because now when I'm ready to make a move, rather than going and just putting myself out there for everybody, I can ping my trusted resources and say, hey, I'm looking for the next step in my career. And like you said, from a consultative, they understand what career pathing, the great recruiters do. They know how I can help me move through my career. And really, that's where I see the recruiter fitting in and building the communities. Because you talk to all these people, you just said it. How many people we place? We place probably 5% of the people that we actually talk to. What do we do with the other 95%? How do we nurture them in a positive way, not just jam jobs down their throat, but make meaningful conversations? So when they're ready to make a move, they're thinking about you. They're thinking about the recruiter.
Yeah, 100%. And I like the fact that also you demonstrate, like, using, if there's candidates watching this, or if they do watch it, the idea of having several recruiters, good recruiters in your stable that kind of represent you out in the market. Because the other thing as well is that a recruiter is going to also know more categorically what you're worth in the market. So they're going to help guide you when it comes to like salary expectations, benefits, compensation, and stuff like that. And again, rather than just, blindly loading yourself into a database somewhere and being bombarded by completely unvetted, unaccredited humans that may or may not have your best interests at heart. It's just, I understand why people do it. I understand that we've come this far, and this is as far as the industry has evolved. But like you and I agree on, Adam, the industry is evolving and changing further. It's about raising standards. It's about making things better, and it's about learning from the mistakes of the past. And these are some of them that we're kind of talking about.
So talk a little bit about what you guys are doing different at job.com. Like we talked about, you care about the candidate experience. We want to build these communities. Like, how does all that technology and touch? I'm gonna take that. I love technology and touch.
Tech with touch.
How does that look for a recruiter over there?
Yeah, so great question. So we have the today stack of where we're at, and then we have the more visionary stack, which I'll be delighted to share with you too. So today we have created a URL that is silo focused for recruitment and staffing roles, akin for, if you see Upwork's focused for freelancing opportunities, job.com is focused for recruitment and staffing related opportunities that are related to a recruitment consultant. And when you land on a job on job.com to go through the hiring process, you can see the recruiter that you're working with immediately, even before you've applied. You can see the name of the client, because we don't hide the client. So most staffing recruitment agencies try and do that because they're scared of other agencies poaching business or the candidate going direct. We are against that. I want people to have transparency the whole way through the hiring process. Because my point is this: if you find the job you're looking for on job.com, are you really going to then navigate away, find the company and see if you can find the role advertised on their site? No. You're going to complete your application through job.com, and we've proven that. So we also are super hot on salary and displaying salary, because again, it helps the candidate make decisions and manage their own expectations. It also acts as a filter, because if that salary is either not enough or maybe even too high, you think, okay, I don't know if I'm quite qualified for this role. It allows you to make the filter. We then do the matching and screening with our own proprietary AI. We do a screen of questions, which then takes them through the various questions that the recruiters have built into their user experience. And then lastly, you schedule, as the candidate, you schedule your first interview with the recruiter based on passing all of them in their calendar. So you go from end to end. So let's say, as a job seeker, I won't know the difference between job.com and ZipRecruiter. I will think that job.com is a job board, and that's totally fine. But my difference here is I applied. I know that I'm talking to Sarah. I've just passed the matching and screening. I've just gone through the screen of questions. And now I'm scheduling my first interview with Sarah in her calendar tomorrow at 10:15. And I'm booked to talk for my first interview tomorrow. What a lovely experience. And it all happened on job.com so fast. I went from applying to scheduled interview in 5 minutes.
It's the consumerization, right? Job seekers are consumers.
They are consumers.
They are consumers,
Yeah.
right? And so like I'm envisioning my experience that I just had returning some items on Amazon. Yeah. And like going through that and going through the process. But I love the transparency is it. So we, you know what we do, right? We want to be transparent because transparency leads to trust. I didn't know that you guys shared the client names, which is amazing. I mean, what we're doing and what you're doing is giving people the information they need to help them make the best decision. You're not keeping that stuff in a black box, which is out there everywhere, right? I mean, that's part of the problem from an experience standpoint from applying is you don't know what the hell is going to happen to your resume.
Exactly. I'd rather, and this was, because we had the debates about this, etc. And my viewpoint as one of the founders and owners and chief visionary officer of this business, I was like, I would rather someone come to our site and find something of value for them. And if they choose to go and complete that somewhere else, I'm delighted for them because we are here to help people get jobs. Now, of course, I would like them to go through my experience and place them myself. And my job is to create such a seamless experience that it makes sense to finish it here rather than go somewhere else. And that's on me. That's on us. And that's my stance point. No more tricks, no more holding things back, no more lack of transparency to try and get people to have to funnel through your business. That is old black box business mentality, and that is not what we're about, and that is not what the future of this industry is. End of.
You imagine finding a house that you really liked and it didn't tell you what neighborhood it was in?
Exactly.
You're like,
it's like, and so I was writing an article the other day, and it was talking about Gen Z, right? And Gen Z by 2025 will be 27% of the workforce population here in America. So considerable. Their top 6 things that matter to them. Number 6 is about the ethics, the corporate social responsibility, and what a company stands for. So if 1 in 3 of the people that may be coming through my hiring site, they need to know who the hell they're going to go and work for, because it helps them make a decision before they even apply. So I want them to be able to make that decision because 1, it's not going to waste my recruiter's time. 2, they're not going to ghost out or not turn up to the, I found out who it was. Yeah, I'm not going to that, blank. Let them make the decisions at the point of inception, and we all have a better experience from the get-go.
Well, and talk about using the recruiter's time more efficiently, right? I mean, like you said, you get excited and all of a sudden, that used to be the conversation. I'd go through the whole process and then you'd be like, well, where's the client? I'd be like, well, it's over at ABC Corporation. You're like, I've already applied there 6 times and I never want to go there. It's like, all right, well, hey,
Yeah, exactly. And like yourself, I would imagine that most people who are watching this, anyone who's worked in recruitment has had that exact scenario happen many, many times. And it's just like, so that's where we're at today. We have a much bigger vision with our technology. And, for anyone that doesn't know, we have filed an inordinate amount of patents around technology, and we have several silos. So one of them that I'm hedging on is the medium that people use to apply for a job with. So I'm not talking about us today, Adam, or even the Gen Zs that exist in the hiring market now. I'm talking about in 10 years' time, when Generation Alpha hits the labor force, they probably won't even consider writing a resume. But in a life where they've never known anything without Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, and metaverses, they will probably want to apply for a video medium. And so we have built a whole number of patents and routes for applying with a video resume, being matched with a video resume, the storing of video resume, transcription of video resumes, all of this stuff. We've patented a whole heap of this stuff. And that's one silo. But the biggest one is creating the single source of truth behind someone's career history. So that's one of the biggest problems in our industry right now, is that statistically, if you read the reports on like blind checks, averagely 78 to 85% of candidates lie during the hiring process. It's typically in their resume. Sometimes those lies can be, I cycle 3 times a week on my Peloton, and really your Peloton is just a good clothes hanger. But sometimes these lies are quite considerable, especially when it comes to working in the smaller business market, because you can't necessarily validate or check anything. As consumers, we are used to a single source of truth in another area of our lives. It's called our credit score. We're used to a cooperative governance framework, which is where competing firms like in credit, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, are all contributing a blueprint around us to create this singular vision of what we are when it comes to our credit. We have a number of patents and are building a framework around that to try and create a validated single source of truth behind someone's career history and then store it on a cryptic key on blockchain. And
interesting.
Yeah.
How far away do you see that being mainstream? Because I know our industry moves slow.
Yeah. So for us launching it, it will be we will launch the proof of life version of it by the end of 2023, and then mainstream. It comes down to who's wanting to participate with this. Sure. Right? If you went to Indeed, Workday, iSIMS, Smart Recruiters, and sat down and said, look, how much of our data is really overlapping? Okay. And truthfully, how can we all be super confident of the accuracy of all of that information? Are we willing to work in a cooperative governance framework to create a single record for the humans that we have in our database for the purposes of improving and streamlining hiring, accuracy, transparency? Those are the conversations that I'm very much looking forward to having with some of these large organizations in the next few years, and see if we can't, for the benefit of all of us, because at one point, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Chase, who are all competitors, would have sat down and gone, okay, we're going to share our customer information with each other here to make it easier for lending. And it's like, yeah. And now you can get a decision on an application for a credit card in a minute. Why couldn't you get a decision on a job in a minute? If you have a truly validated profile and you are who you say you are and you fit the bill of that job, bang. And can it be done?
Because as a staffing firm world, I feel like those are my 1 million candidates that are mine that nobody else has, right?
And the thing is, in a digital world, we have to accept everybody's got them.
Right.
Okay, and so now it has to, instead of being like, well, I've got 10 million candidates, I've got 30 million candidates. It's like, okay, let me ask you this question. How accurate is the data from all of those candidates? How do you know they're even real? How many of them are real? How many of those have been made, or they're fabricated resumes, or they're resumes that were enhanced, or they're just fake resumes? We don't know. It could be 1%, 10%, 30%. The future, in my opinion, of this industry is validity. So I think that one area that's super, super important now is to try and get away from always having to trust things that we have no proof of trust with. You're a great example of a business that's doing that. Why on earth do I trust this recruiter to place me into my next job, which is one of the single biggest decisions I make in my life? Oh, I know why, because they're great recruiter certified. Great.
We trust other people, and even if they're strangers. And so when you create that transparency and you're able to provide perspective of somebody else that's like me, that had a great experience, when you have all these different choices, why wouldn't you want to go to somebody that's been vetted by your peers?
Of course you would. And that is a natural thing. Like in life, we always ask someone, oh, do you know such and, do you know someone that can help me with this? And if a good friend recommends someone to you, you trust it because you just had that. All you've done, like with your business and what we want to create with when it comes to validating the candidates, is bring that type of social interaction mainstream across all data points. So you're doing it with recruitment consultants and making one, giving recognition to recruiters, which is brilliant, but two, allowing the recruiters to show candidates that they can be trusted to be the that kind of career concierge for them. From our side, it's like, I want to be able to prove to my clients that candidate I sent you is exactly who they say they are, because they went through this framework, they went through this structure, and we have proven all of their credentials around them by this framework, and now you can hire with much more confidence faster.
So let me ask you, being so technology focused and everything, Great Recruiters is really about the human experience. Like, what has that impact been for you guys? Because I mean, you're early on, but what have you seen as far as that impact? Because I think some customers, you're like, here's the recruiter, here's the job, complete transparency. We're providing that with a review. Like, how has that impacted your culture?
Yeah, so to answer that in several layers, right? So technology enhances the culture because it makes things more seamless for the humans that are behind it. Because anyone that's worked in recruitment knows that it can really be a labor of love, and it can be hard work. But more importantly, when you look at something like your business and what that's had an impact in our company, for example, because it's had a huge impact for recognition of the recruiters that we currently have, and we're rolling it out because we got like a couple of hundred, we got like 250 recruiters in job.com, right? So we rolled it out the first set, going to roll it out with the rest now. And the feedback is just that people feel great because, yes, I might be recognized for having great billings and great commission, but now I'm being recognized for the fact that I treat the humans that I place in companies, and even the ones I don't, with respect, dignity, and with great service. And that is a culture builder, because anyone that comes into the company that doesn't do that, guess what? Probably need to find somewhere else to work.
Yeah.
Because they're not working
about it. What do people want? And it's what we measure on. Are you genuine? Are you responsive? Are you experienced and knowledgeable? Are you an advisor? Are you transparent? I mean, all those things, without even and I don't know if you knew, like, GREAT was an acronym for those, but like, those are all the things that you talk about. Yeah. And that is what human beings are looking for in any service-based stuff. And like you said, the impact that recruiters have on a life. If you're burned out after a year, 2 years of recruiting, you're doing it wrong. Your job should get easier. That 95% you don't place, they become your personal group of people that you want to nurture, right? They're your database. You nurture those things. And it's such a miss with as much money spent on getting the candidates, how little is spent on helping those candidates want to be part of your community for not jobs today, because that's what everyone focuses on, but for the job tomorrow.
100%. They're your stable, right? And again, that's the difference again between recruiters that run a great desk and those that don't, right? So, but there has never been an opportunity to have recognition from the candidate to the recruiter. And the problem you've got is one bad apple rots the barrel. So we've got bad acting recruiters in our industry, and guess what? Everybody thinks recruiters are,
Well, if you create a bad experience, job.com's no good. If you create a great experience, Arran's awesome.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, we roll up the bad experience to the company label, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And if you're not asking, and what we have found is many times it's misunderstanding. People just want to be heard. Yeah. And a lot of times it's misunderstanding. And we know people are going to talk. I'd rather have them talk to you than go talk out there anonymously somewhere else.
Yeah, and people are more likely to complain than they are to say good things. And they're also more likely to tell people and their friends and stuff like that. And it doesn't take long to create a tidal wave of bad word of mouth. And before you know it, your brand is tarnished, right?
10 times more positives to overcome a negative.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yeah. A negative comment is 10 times more. And when you're not asking, it's mostly, like you said, you're 90% more likely to post a negative, because humans, we want to complain a little bit. We want to be heard.
Yeah, we certainly do. And we also probably see more emotion in that because we feel there's a certain level of injustice as a consumer. And when you're talking about jobs, that's the other thing you have to be conscious of. A job is a vehicle that people use to feed their families, pay their bills, pay their rent, mortgages, life. If you screw that up for them, and it's actually even by no means of your fault, but there's even a shred that you weren't really doing the best job that you can, it's all your fault.
All your fault.
It's all your fault.
I'm not going to trust you. That's for sure.
I'm not going to trust you, and I'm going to tell everyone how rubbish you are.
I certainly won't refer you.
Yeah.
So exactly. Hey, we're getting down on time. So flash forward. Give me what does the future hold for you and job.com, and where do you see this industry rolling. Will there be recruiters in 5 years?
100% there's going to be recruiters in 5 years. There's going to be recruiters for as long as I'm in this industry, I'm sure. Until the humanoid robots take all of our jobs, allegedly. But the thing is the industry just needs to grow up. It needs to have more validation. It needs to have more trust, and also utilizing technology for the benefit of streamlining processes and creating great experiences, not removing the humans out of it and creating maybe cold clinical experiences.
It's good. So, hey, as we wrap, give the main takeaways. Give me the 3 to 5 main takeaways that you want somebody listening to this to kind of think about as they're either running a company, if they're a recruiter, or maybe even if they're a candidate out there.
Yeah, so if you're running a business, make sure that any stakeholder that touches your business has a positive experience, the best that you possibly can. It's not always possible to do that because running a business is tough, but how you manage that is really important, because in the beginning, especially with a small business, you are the brand of the company, so act like it. If you're a recruiter, remember that you are an entrepreneur running your own desk. So the way you treat your candidates is the way that you're effectively treating your customers. And if you treat them badly, you're probably not going to run a very good desk. And lastly, but not least, as a candidate, understand your value in the market and only accept good experiences, because you're worth more than the bad ones.
I love it. Well, hey, man, this has been a great. We blew through 30 minutes.
Easy. Like you said it. You called it.
We could just go ahead and probably find another 30 minutes and dissect each of these pieces. But I love what you're doing. I love the technology and touch. Use technology not to save the recruiter's time, but to create more value for the people that are engaging with your brand. It's going to save your recruiter's time, but I think it needs to be used to enhance that experience. And if you're not asking how you're doing, you really are just guessing on the experience you're creating on a daily basis. So get down to the desk level and ask for that feedback. And a lot of positive things happen. Just reviews, testimonials, referrals, mistakes, right? And learning opportunities and culture and acknowledgement. So
at least if there is mistakes, which in business there always is, then you can learn from it. But like you just said, if you don't ask, you'll never know, and then you'll never learn. So
it's awesome.
I love it, man.
Hey, if anyone wants to connect with you, how can they get a hold of you if they want to learn more about job.com?
Well, you can always add me on LinkedIn, and obviously a name's pretty unique, job.com. Obviously Arran@job.com. It's like the easiest email in the world. And and I'm on Twitter. So if you ever want to reach out to me, I love talking about this industry all the time. I'm pretty much anything when it comes to kind of business professional. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you.
Well, hey, I'm very grateful for you and job.com, and I'm glad that we continue to pave the way together, and I look forward to a lot more of what the future holds for us. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and have a great rest of your week, and go create great experiences for people.
Definitely. That's what matters.
Cheers.
Cheers.